darkest of wars,
there arose a new nation,
born in a day, yet from such a deep well. A long slumbering land now awakened with vigor, proclaiming its name was again Israel. In wonder we watched, and we thanked our Creator that He had allowed us to see such a day. We knew that the end of an age was upon us, but we never imagined the part we would play. Many people have recognized the unparalleled preservation of the Jewish people, despite so many attempts to obliterate them, and their unprecedented return to their own land after nearly 2,000 years in exile, as proof that our Creator keeps His promises. But that's not the whole story. The same scriptures that tell us about the Exodus from Egypt also say that one day the recalling of Israel from among all nations will eclipse the first Exodus so overwhelmingly that we'll hardly even talk about it anymore. The Jews no longer have to end Passover by saying, "next year in Jerusalem." They can already move back if they so choose, but the Passover seder hasn't changed. This means there's something even bigger still to come. A clue as to just what is found in the fact that Ezekiel was told his vision of the dry bones represented the restoration of the whole house of Israel. At the time he prophesied, most of the Jews were not even in exile yet. There was, however, another part of Israel that had already been in exile for over a century. You see, the Jews, who were specifically descendants of Jacob's son Judah, or more properly Yehuda, are only one of 12 tribes. The prophet Zechariah broke a rod to symbolize the breaking of Yahweh's covenant with all peoples. What that means is that he now has no covenant with anyone but Yisrael. But then Zechariah broke a second stick to announce the end of the brotherhood between Yehuda and the rest of Israel. Why? We're told that all the kings of the earth had dealings with King David and his son Solomon. This was no exaggeration, since they were part of what others called the Phoenician Alliance, which traded as far away as North America, Brazil, and India. But to staff his many building projects, Solomon and his son Rehoboam after him treated the other tribes as little more than slaves to his own tribe, Yehuda, so they seceded, spelling the end of Israel's golden age. The southern kingdom now consisted of the tribe of Yehuda, the Jews, and just one other tribe. Yerovam, who headed the kingdom that continued to be called Yisrael after the split, was from the tribe of Ephraim, the son born to Joseph 8 centuries earlier, when he was ruler in Egypt. But Joseph's father Jacob said his new name, Yisrael, would be upon Ephraim. He actually put his grandson Ephraim in the position of his own firstborn. And Yahweh himself would later echo the same sentiment. Because it was the king's tribe, the name Ephraim became shorthand for all 10 of the northern tribes, also called Yisrael, and sometimes it was called the house of Yosef. To rightly divide the word of truth, we have to recognize the distinction the prophets made from that time on between the house of Yehuda and the house of Yisrael. They're not just poetic synonyms, they're two different entities. Simply put, the throne remained with Yehuda, the birthright remained with Yosef. Neither house was complete anymore without the other. Yahweh had said the split was also a punishment for Solomon's allowing idolatry back into his land, and he would not let Rehoboam take the breakaway tribes back by force. Still, Yerovam was afraid that if his subjects kept going to Jerusalem 3 times a year as Yahweh had commanded, their hearts might again become loyal to Yehuda, now his rival kingdom. So he set up altars at 2 alternative worship sites. And it only got worse. Eventually the prophet Hosea could describe Ephraim as having mixed himself with the peoples. They wanted to be just like any other nation, rather than Yahweh's unique treasure. By 722 BC, Yahweh had had enough. He gave them what they asked for. Their punishment was to actually become Gentiles. He used the brutal Assyrians to carry the Israelites away into exile and resettle them in other parts of the empire. Some escaped and became separate nations early on, but they all eventually migrated away in every direction. Hoshea's own children were given prophetic names. One was Lo Ruhamah, no pity. The northern kingdom had ceased to care about cultivating their relationship with Yahweh, so he just left them to fend for themselves, with no special intervention from him anymore. The next was named Lo Ami, not my people, for the northern kingdom had ceased to be one cohesive group anymore. But the third was named Yisrael, and this both confirmed the punishment and held a remedy to the problem. Yisrael means Elohim will scatter, but at its root it means Elohim will sow seeds. He did indeed scatter the northern kingdom like seeds, but a sown seed is hidden in the ground for the very purpose of later showing up again to bear much fruit.